I was already 20 minutes late when I pulled up to her house, an old two-story place with ivy climbing the front porch and a wind chime that wouldn't stop trembling in the mild afternoon breeze. My phone buzzed with a reminder from another client, but I ignored it. I don't know why, but as I killed the engine, I had this odd feeling, like I was about to walk into something that wasn't on my schedule. When she opened the door, I forgot my apology mid-sentence. She wasn't what I'd expected. Most people who call for plumbing work are rushed, distracted, half-dressed for errands. She was neither. She stood there in a loose gray sweater that fell off one shoulder, dark jeans, and a calm expression that made me feel like I was the one intruding. Her eyes, cool, steady, studied me just long enough to make me aware of how young I probably looked. "You're late," she said, not unkindly. "Yeah, sorry. Traffic on. Don't bother," she cut in, a faint smile flickering. "You're here now? The leak's worse than I thought. You might want to start in the bedroom." Something about the way she said it, plain, factual, still managed to hang in the air a second too long. I followed her through a hallway lined with black and white photos, probably hers. Most were of places that looked quiet. Beaches at dawn, empty cafe tables, half-lit windows. The bedroom door was half open. A small puddle had gathered near the radiator pipe. She pointed toward it, then folded her arms, watching as I knelt down and began unrolling my tools. "You live here alone?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Most of the time," she said. "Why?" "Just wondering if I should turn the main valve off. Sometimes it takes two people." She tilted her head, eyes softening. "You'll manage." That should have been the end of it. But there was something about her voice, low, deliberate, that made even the simplest words feel heavier. The room smelled faintly of rain through an open window and a trace of perfume, the kind that doesn't announce itself but lingers anyway. I focused on the pipe, pretending not to feel her watching me. My wrench slipped once, clanking against the metal, and she moved closer, crouching beside me. Her sweater brushed my arm. "Here," she said quietly, handing me a towel. "You're bleeding." It was barely a scratch, but her fingers grazed my wrist as she passed it over. Just a second, maybe less, but it stopped me cold. I muttered thanks. She didn't reply, just stayed there for a moment, close enough that I could see the faint line of tiredness beneath her eyes. Not the kind that comes from lack of sleep, the kind that comes from carrying too much silence. When she finally stood, she asked, "Do you usually work this late?" "Sometimes. Depends on the call. Then I'll try not to keep you too long." But she didn't leave. She leaned against the dresser, arms crossed again, watching as I worked. Not in a strange way, more like someone who'd forgotten how to fill the quiet. Every few minutes, I'd catch her reflection in the mirror behind the bed, distant, thoughtful, not looking at me, but not looking away either. When the pipe finally stopped dripping, I stood and wiped my hands. "It's fixed." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "You work carefully," she said. "Most people rush. I guess I don't like breaking things twice." That made her smile, the first real one. Small, but it changed her whole face. "Good," she murmured, almost to herself. "Neither do I." There was a pause, the kind that feels heavier than words. Then she looked toward the window, and I swear I saw something in her posture shift, like she'd remembered the years between us all at once. I packed my tools, thanked her, and left before saying something stupid. But all the way home, I could still feel that moment. Her voice, her nearness, that faint smile. And for reasons I couldn't explain, the sound of her saying, "the bedroom first," kept replaying in my head. She called again 2 weeks later. I'd just finished a long job across town when her name popped up on my phone. I almost didn't answer. Part of me thought it was a mistake. But her voice, calm and low as before, said, "It's leaking again. Same pipe." So I went. This time, the sky was overcast, soft gray light filling her house through half-drawn curtains. She opened the door with the same composed ease, though her hair was tied back now, loose strands falling around her face. "Sorry for the repeat visit," she said. "I probably didn't tighten it enough after you left." "I doubt that," I said before thinking. "You don't seem like someone who leaves things half done." Something flickered across her eyes. Not quite a smile, not quite pain. She looked away. You'd be surprised. The bedroom looked mostly the same, but I noticed a few details I hadn't before. A half-empty glass of wine on the nightstand, an unfinished book face down beside it, and a camera on the dresser. Old-fashioned, heavy, like the kind used to capture things that mattered. As I knelt to check the pipe again, she hovered near the doorway. Her presence filled the room even when she said nothing. The quiet wasn't awkward. It was dense, almost protective. "Do you take photos for work?" I asked, just to break it. "For myself," she replied. "It helps me see things clearly." I looked up. "You don't seem like someone who needs help seeing clearly." Her laugh was soft, sudden, the kind that sounds like it surprised her too. "Then you don't know me." I didn't answer. I didn't know her, not really. But I noticed things. The faint tremor in her hands when she pushed her hair behind her ear, the tired shape of her mouth, how her posture stayed straight even when her voice didn't. When I stood, she was looking at the floor, absently tracing a small crack in the wooden panel with her toe. "You ever have something you keep fixing?" she said quietly. "Even when you know it's just going to break again?" I wanted to ask what she meant, but she didn't give me a chance. She just nodded toward the pipe. "Thank you for coming again. I know it's late." "Doesn't bother me," I said. "I don't mind being here." That made her finally meet my eyes, really meet them. There was something raw there, something careful. "I shouldn't keep calling you," she said after a pause, voice barely above a whisper. "Then why did you?" Her lips parted, but no answer came. Only silence. One that stretched just long enough for me to hear the faint ticking of her wall clock behind us. She turned toward the window, arms crossed tight. "Old habits," she said finally. "I reach out when I shouldn't." For a second, I thought about stepping closer, not touching her, just closing the space between words. But I didn't. She exhaled, shoulders softening. "You can send me the invoice," she murmured. I nodded, even though my mind was somewhere else, stuck on the way she'd said it, the weight in her tone, like she was apologizing for more than a leak. When I left, the sky had darkened into a slow drizzle. My shirt was damp, but I didn't care. All I could think about was her voice, how it cracked slightly when she said, "I shouldn't keep calling you." And for the first time, I wondered if she'd say it again. It started raining just after I arrived. Not a polite drizzle this time. Real rain, hammering the roof, spilling against her windows like it meant to stay all night. She'd called earlier that afternoon, her voice hesitant. "It's the water heater this time," she said. "I think it's losing pressure. You don't have to come today if it's too much trouble." I told her I was nearby. That was a lie. I just wanted to see her again. By the time I reached her place, the lights inside were dim, a small lamp throwing amber across the living room. She'd made tea, 2 cups. I wasn't sure if that meant anything. "You're soaked," she said, noticing the wet patch spreading across my shirt. "Here." She grabbed a towel from the arm of the couch, stepped close enough for the scent of her perfume, faint, warm, like old books and something floral, to catch in the air between us. I didn't take the towel. Not right away. Just watched her, the way her fingers tightened around the fabric, the way she avoided my eyes like she already knew what I was thinking. "I'll get started on the heater," I said finally. She nodded, moving aside. "It's in the kitchen. Be careful, it hisses sometimes." The storm pressed against the windows while I worked. Thunder rolled in the distance. I could hear her moving behind me, slow, deliberate. Then her voice. "Do you ever feel like you end up in places you're not supposed to be?" I turned. She was standing by the counter, arms folded. The light caught her face just enough to show something fragile beneath the composure. "Sometimes," I said, "but maybe that's how you find what you need." Her lips curved, almost a smile. "Or what you shouldn't want." The words hung there, too heavy to move around. I laughed quietly, more to fill the silence than anything else. "That sounds like experience talking." She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time, I saw her guard slip. Not completely, just enough to reveal a trace of loneliness behind her confidence. Before I could say anything, her phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with a name, Mark. She froze, the color draining slightly from her face. "You can answer," I said. She hesitated, then silenced it. "No," she whispered. "He doesn't get to call anymore." The room felt smaller after that. The rain, louder. When I finished, she poured another cup of tea and handed it to me. Her hand brushed mine, brief, but deliberate enough to notice. "You don't have to rush off," she said. "It's coming down hard." I sat beside her, careful to leave a small space between us. The steam rose between our cups, twisting into the air like a slow breath neither of us wanted to release. She spoke first. "You remind me of someone I used to know. He used to fix things too, just not the ones that mattered." I didn't answer. I just nodded, because anything I said would have sounded wrong. Outside, thunder cracked again, and for a heartbeat, she reached out, fingers brushing my sleeve, as if she didn't mean to, then pulled back just as quickly. I caught the motion, felt it echo somewhere deeper than I wanted it to. When the rain eased, I stood to leave. She followed me to the door, both of us quieter than before. As I stepped out, she said softly, "Next time, you should let me make dinner." It wasn't a question. It wasn't quite an invitation either. But it stayed with me, that unfinished sentence wrapped in her tone. And all the way to my truck, I couldn't stop wondering what she didn't say after "next time." It was late again, later than it should have been for what she called a small favor. The kitchen faucet this time, a simple seal replacement. But the air between us was nothing simple anymore. She hovered near the counter as I worked, arms folded, quiet. No music, no hum of distraction, just the low drip of water and the clock ticking somewhere behind me. "You don't have to keep calling me," I said finally, my voice lower than I meant. "There are other plumbers in this part of town." She looked up sharply, eyes unreadable. "Do you want me to stop?" I hesitated, tightening the wrench just to give my hands something to do. "I didn't say that." "Then why ask?" The pipe hissed faintly as it sealed shut. I sat back on my heels and looked at her, really looked. The same gray sweater, sleeves rolled up this time, her hair loosely tied, a faint smudge of fatigue beneath her eyes. She looked softer than I'd ever seen her, almost undone by something she couldn't name. "Because," I said slowly, "I don't know what this is anymore." She didn't answer right away, just leaned back against the counter, palms pressed flat, her gaze flickering toward the floor. "I don't either," she said at last. "But I keep finding reasons not to stop." That line sat between us like a confession neither of us meant to make. "You know how this looks?" I said quietly. Her mouth curved, not quite a smile. "Like a lonely woman paying for company." "That's not what I meant." "No," she said, eyes lifting to mine. "But it's what people would think, isn't it?" I swallowed hard. "I don't care what people think." "Then what do you care about?" The question cut deeper than I expected. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She waited, patient, unblinking, until the silence grew thick enough to hear my own heartbeat. Finally, she exhaled, a sound that was half a sigh, half a surrender. "I didn't plan any of this," she said softly. "You showed up late that day, and somehow it hasn't stopped since." I wanted to move closer, to close the space that had been widening between words, but something held me still, maybe decency, maybe fear. "You could tell me to stop coming," I said. "I could," she replied. "But I won't." Her voice cracked a little on that last word. Barely, but enough. She turned away then, pretending to busy herself with the tea kettle that wasn't even plugged in. I stood, wiping my hands on the towel she'd once handed me, the same one I'd kept folded in my toolbox ever since. "I don't want to hurt you," I said quietly. She froze, her back to me. "Then don't be kind," she whispered. "That's what does it." For a long time, neither of us spoke. Just the faint hum of the refrigerator and the wind brushing against the window pane. When I finally stepped toward the door, she said without turning, "You'll come back, won't you?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was, she already knew I would. The call came on a Sunday. I almost didn't pick up. I was still half asleep, sunlight crawling across the floor of my apartment. But her voice broke through, small and distant. "Could you stop by? I found something." It's not about the pipes this time. Something in her tone made me sit up. It wasn't the usual calm. It was thinner, frayed around the edges. When I arrived, the door was open. No tea this time, no pretense of small talk. She stood by the dining table, an old shoebox beside her, the lid off. Inside, photographs, curled at the corners, some yellowed with time. I was cleaning the attic, she said quietly. Didn't expect to find these. She handed one to me. A photo of a younger version of her, maybe 20 years ago, standing beside a man in a mechanic's uniform. He had the same build as me, same faint awkwardness in the shoulders, same uncertain smile. That was Mark, she said. The one who used to call. I looked closer. Your husband. Once, she said. Before he wasn't. The rain began again outside, soft this time, like it didn't want to interrupt. She sat down slowly, eyes still fixed on the photo in my hands. He used to fix everything around here. Pipes, shelves, the car, anything but what mattered. When he left, I kept calling people to replace what broke, as if eventually someone might fix the part he didn't. She laughed then, a brittle sound that died quickly. I thought I was done with that kind of hope, she said. And then you showed up. I didn't know what to say. My chest felt tight, like something was folding in on itself. I remind you of him, I said finally. Her eyes lifted, slow and deliberate. A little, she admitted. But that's not the problem. Then what is? You don't know you're doing it, she said. The way you look at things before you touch them. The quiet. The patience. He used to be like that, before everything fell apart. She reached out then, as if to take the photo back, but her hand stopped halfway. I don't think I miss him anymore, she whispered. I think I miss who I thought he was. The silence after that felt different, not tense, but heavy in a way that pulled at both of us. I wanted to tell her that I wasn't him, that I wouldn't leave half-finished things behind. But something about her expression, that calm acceptance, told me she didn't need promises. She just needed someone who understood the cost of remembering. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet but steady. You can leave it there, she said, nodding to the photo. I don't think I want to keep it. I placed it back in the box gently, my fingers brushing hers for just a heartbeat. Some things don't need fixing, I said quietly. She nodded, and for the first time since I'd known her, she didn't look composed. She just looked real, unguarded, undone, breathing through whatever truth had finally caught up to her. And as I left, I realized the twist wasn't in what she'd told me. It was in how much of her I suddenly understood without her saying another word. The last time I went to her house, she didn't call me. I just showed up. I told myself it was to check the water heater again, to make sure the fix held through the cold week, but I knew that was a lie the second she opened the door. She looked surprised, then not. As if she'd expected me anyway. You shouldn't keep doing this, she said softly. I know. She stepped aside, letting me in. The living room was different. No teacups, no tools waiting. Just the window half open, wind moving the curtain like a slow breath. We stood there for a while without speaking. There wasn't anything left to pretend about. The space between us, once careful, now felt fragile, too full of things unsaid. I've been thinking, she began, her voice quiet, about why you keep showing up. Why I keep letting you. I didn't interrupt. She walked to the table, fingers grazing its surface as she spoke. You remind me of something I thought I'd outgrown. The idea that someone could see me without asking for anything. I exhaled. You don't make it easy. Her smile was faint, tired but warm. Good. It shouldn't be easy. I took a step closer, not enough to touch, just enough for her reflection in the window to merge with mine. You don't have to keep finding reasons for me to come, I said. And you don't have to keep pretending it's about the pipes. That made us both laugh. Quiet, almost embarrassed. The kind of laugh that says we know. She turned then, facing me fully. The afternoon light caught the lines around her eyes, the small, tired beauty of them. I'd seen her strong, guarded, even cold. But this unguarded stillness, it was something else. You're too young for this, she said, though there was no conviction in it. And you're too smart to believe that matters. She shook her head, smiling in that way that meant she wanted to stop the moment and keep it at the same time. Evan, she said finally, my name almost a sigh. We can't fix what this is supposed to mean. I don't want to fix it. That was the truth, simple, unpolished, but enough. The silence that followed didn't feel tense anymore. It felt lived in, real, like something had finally exhaled after holding its breath too long. When she moved closer, she didn't reach for me right away. Her hand hovered, uncertain, before resting lightly against my sleeve. Just her fingertips, the smallest touch, but it steadied everything that had been spinning between us for months. No kiss, no grand promise, just her leaning her forehead against my shoulder, eyes closed, breathing slow. We stood like that until the clock ticked past 6, and the sky outside turned the color of rust. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "Maybe this is enough," she said. I nodded, not trusting my voice. And in that stillness, in that quiet collapse, it finally was. It's been months since I last saw her. Not because we ended anything. We never began it. Not in the way people think love is supposed to begin. It just settled quietly, like the rain after a long storm, when the air finally stops holding its breath. Sometimes, on slower mornings, I still find myself driving past her street. The house looks smaller now, less mysterious. The wind chime still hangs there, moving like it remembers something too. I don't stop anymore. I don't need to. But I think about her, the way she spoke without hurrying, how she listened like silence had its own language, how she once said, "Maybe this is enough?" And somehow, that sentence changed how I understood love. Back then, I thought connection had to mean movement, forward, upward, somewhere. But with her, it was stillness that mattered. The quiet in-between spaces. The pauses where neither of us said what we wanted, but both knew what was there. People talk about age like it's a boundary, like love should color inside the lines. But she taught me something different. Sometimes love is just recognition, a moment when two people see each other exactly as they are, without needing to rewrite the rest of their lives to fit it. She didn't save me. I didn't save her. We just met at the right kind of broken time and let each other be seen. There's this one night I still replay, the last one maybe. We didn't touch, didn't even say goodbye properly. She handed me a cup of tea and said, "You'll stop coming one day. That's okay." And I remember thinking, I already had, in a way, because everything that needed to be said had already happened in the silence we shared. Now, when I fix things, faucets, heaters, the small pieces of other people's lives, I catch myself being slower, gentler. I look twice before I tighten anything. She used to say care is in the pauses, not the pressure. I didn't get it then. I do now. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about me when the house creaks at night or the rain starts up again. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we were meant to pass through each other's lives like quiet proof that connection doesn't have to last forever to matter. But every now and then, when I'm rinsing my tools at the end of a long day, I hear her voice again, low and steady. "Don't be kind if you don't mean it." I smile every time. Because I did. I still do. And maybe that's enough too. If this story made you feel something, let me know in the comments. Would you want more stories like this?